Hello and welcome back. I'm meteorologist Sean McAday, and as I started this, we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning that has popped up in our region, so I'm going to go ahead and investigate that. We were going to start off with a look at a windy day in Mason City, but new severe thunderstorm warning now out, it looks like, for all, this new one. It's not that one which it's pointing to, it's this one. This one now out for all of Hancock County and Winnebago County. There's a tornado possible tag in this. That's an important point to make because that shows that there is some rotation in this line of thunderstorms, which is continuing on through. Again, if you are in Hancock County or Winnebago County, you need to get in your safe place right now through about the next hour. This is going to be lasting for the next hour. It expires at 7:15 p.m. Right now it's 6:17 p.m. So it's, just under an hour we're going to be dealing with this. We're probably looking at things like strong winds gusting to 60 plus miles per hour, some hail, which today there's a potential for up to ping pong ball sized hail. And also there is that, like I mentioned, tornado possible tag, especially as we work closer towards Humboldt. We're going to take a closer look at that in a second. But if you are in places like Forest City, Britt, Garner, Lake Mills, Buffalo Center, already seeing rain moving on through. Kanawha, about to see those storms move on through. If you're in any of the places I mentioned, you need to start getting inside. And we're only going to continue to track these storms move through not just North Iowa, but also the rest of our area over the course of this afternoon and evening. So let's get back to where we were started. Mason City right now, still probably another hour and a half from this line of storms moving on through towards around Mason City. But you step outside right here and you can feel it. It's warm. It's really windy. Winds out of the south, 31 miles per hour, and it's also fairly humid. We're starting to see dew points. How humid it feels? Closer to the 60s. And when that happens, you start to talk about things actually feeling kind of humid outside, kind of damp. Right now, Austin, we were recording some light rain earlier, but now you can see some sunny skies. Let's take a look at our GOES 16 satellite. This is really useful on days like today because it allows us to see where these thunderstorms are getting really high up in the sky. And look at this line from Mankato through Fort Dodge. That's where these storms are. And just in front of them, you can actually see through the ground. There's a little bit of clearing in these areas, which is allowing temperatures to get warmer towards the surface and maybe add a little bit more heat into parts of the system. So again, severe thunderstorm warning out for all of Hancock County and Winnebago County for the next hour. If you're in Garner, Forest City, Kanawha, Scarville even, you need to be getting in your safe place. I mentioned that I would do this. And here it is. There's a little area of rotation right now just to the northeast of Humboldt. It's a rear inflow jet. Our meteorologist Ryan Knapp out in the field pointed this out to us. And he was really signaling that, look, this is an area of rotation embedded in this cell. And if this were going to continue a little bit towards the northeast, it would be in places like Renwick in about 15 minutes. Kanawha, sadly ironic because they were hit by a tornado just over a week ago. Probably around 6:45, 6:50. Garner maybe a bit closer to 7, and we're going to continue to track this line of storms also moving through southern Minnesota. I'm going to quickly put a track on this, and then we're going to continue to get on with the news program. But as we track this line of storms moving from west to east through the whole area, it's going to be in Albert Lea around 6:45, Mason City maybe a bit closer towards an hour from now, 7:15, maybe a bit before then, maybe a bit after then. Austin around 7:15 as well. Rochester probably a little bit closer to 8 o'clock, same with Charles City as this continues to move on through. So I'm going to be here all night long tracking these storms for you, and if anything new pops up, I'll be back with more.
Thanks, Sean. Coming up in sports, the Austin Bruins face off against the Aberdeen Wings tonight in Game 2 of the playoffs. Plus, baseball and softball teams hit the diamond today, including the Byron Bears softball team.
All right, hello, I'm meteorologist Sean McAday. There is now a tornado warning out for parts of Hancock County. Now we're going to be staying on the programming, unfortunately cutting into our news, KMT News 3 at 6 programming. That's okay, we want to keep you safe. And unfortunately, this is terribly ironic, but this tornado warning out for the same place that was hit by a tornado just over a week ago. This is Kanawha, which is in southwestern Hancock County. Let's talk about this tornado warning. This is through 6:45, and it's for places like Hancock. This places like Brits, Corwith, Kanawha, and Clemmy. Again, Clemmy was also in that tornado warning just over really a week ago. So we're going to continue to stay on this. This was with that same area of rotation that we saw. We were just mentioning it about 5 minutes ago. Our meteorologist, Storm Team 3 meteorologist Ryan Knapp pointed out an area of rotation just to the northeast of Humboldt and to really the south of Livermore. And it looks like that now may have produced a tornado. National Weather Service, again, issuing a tornado warning for places like Hancock County, Humboldt County, Kossuth County, and parts of Wright County as well, the northern part. So we're going to continue to track this storm. But if you are in anywhere that I mentioned, you need to start going into your safe place at this very moment, because this is going to be lasting for half an hour. We'll see how it holds together, but Brits, Corwith, Kanawha, and Clemmy, again, you need to be getting into your safe place right now. I'm sure the sirens are starting to sound in these cities that I've mentioned, and we're going to continue to stay on this. I'm going to step off screen, and I'm going to take a look at our velocity tracker. We're going to take a look at really what we're seeing with this storm as it's continuing to push on through in terms of the spinning in the atmosphere. Right now we're seeing a little bit of that. It looks like just to the east of Livermore. Here's where it is. Storm Team 3 meteorologist Ryan Knapp pointed this out earlier, and it's right now just about to move into that southwestern corner of Hancock County. And again, this tornado warning lasting for just another half an hour as it continues to move on through. Let's put another track on this, shall we? If we assume that the tornado is just now about to move into that very southwestern corner of Hancock County, here's where it's headed. I am going to put this a little bit ahead of the tornado warning as this continues on. But right now, this would be in Kanawha, probably and actually a little bit less than half an hour. I would actually put it there at maybe 6:40 or maybe even 6:35. That would be in 10 minutes. So Kanawha, you need to buckle down again. I know you did this last week. You're doing it again as things start to ramp up right now. This then moves into Clemmy, potentially, maybe a little bit closer to 6:55, 6:50. And Garner, not in that tornado warning, but if you are watching in Garner, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning anyway. You need to be getting into your safe place right now at this very instant and continuing to track and stay with us as we watch and track this tornado warning out through the area. Britt also in that tornado warning. So we're going to continue to stay on this. Right now, we are not only tracking that tornado warning, but also a severe thunderstorm warning out for all of Hancock County and also all of Winnebago County as this continues to push through. It's in those places that I mentioned, not in the tornado warning, but in Winnebago County, in the northern part of Hancock County. You still want to be inside because we're tracking gusts to 60 miles per hour. We have gusts to 60 miles per hour. We have Storm Team 3 meteorologist Ryan Knapp out in the field right now. He says he's just south of Clemmy in front of this tornado warning. Ryan, what are you seeing? All right, we're gonna take a second to get Ryan Knapp's feed. It seems to have gone down just briefly, but we're going to continue to track this storm moving through the area. Again, let's just talk about where this storm is moving on through. So right now, that area of rotation, you could see it in the radar. You see this little bulge in the radar right here? Around here is where there's a rear inflow jet. Winds rushing up into the storm, and then they're starting to rotate within that little mesocyclone. That is where, somewhere around this area, is where that tornado is located. We have meteorologist Ryan Knapp just around Clemmy, I believe so. Meteorologist Ryan Knapp, what are you seeing, where are you, and what can you tell us?
Yeah, hey Aaron, Sean, exactly what you mentioned. I'm just north of Clemmy, between Garner and Clemmy. Just actually got done speaking with the sheriff's department. That was kind of moving through, alerting people of what is going on. They said they are staying close to Garner right now, but we are on kind of that eastern side of the tornado warning. I'm looking ahead at my phone here that has the radar on it. It looks like that velocity has decreased just a little bit, but it is north of Renwick. Obviously, this is something that the National Weather Service is paying attention to right now. as we continue to monitor this storm. Continuing to move off towards the north and east right now. It's going to move just south of Corwith, probably to the south of Kanawha and, really between south of Corwith and north of Kanawha right now is what we're seeing here on the velocity scans that I'm sure you're probably showing the folks at home watching right now. But this is going to be a situation we're going to be seeing unfolding probably over the next few hours as these storms get into a more favorable environment. One thing we talk a lot about is shear. Once these storms start getting into a more favorable environment, we're going to see situations where these tornadoes won't be similar to what we saw last week in Palmer or Gilmore City. They're not going to be those discrete supercells. They're going to kind of try to be embedded into this line. So that's something we're tracking right now. I have the storm right out in here in front of me. You can see the dark skies on the cam. I'm going to be tracking this as we move over really the next hour or so that this warning is probably up for. Next 30 minutes it looks like as well. So the next 15 to 30 minutes that this warning is up, we will continue to track this. And live just north of Clemmy, Storm Team 3 meteorologist Ryan Knapp.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ryan. We're going to continue to track your feed where you are, and please stay safe. Again, Clemmy right here, just on Highway 69, south of Garmer, north in parts of Hancock County. This is where Clemmy is. He's just north of here, so he's on the very edge of this warned storm for a potential tornado. Tornado, radar confirmed tornado right here, just now moving into parts of southern Hancock County. Kanawha, I know this is so terribly ironic, but you were hit by that EF0 tornado just over, not even 2 weeks ago. That was with our last round of severe thunderstorms. You got another area of rotation just to the really west-southwest of Kanawha, which is about to move in. Here's where the winds are moving away from the radar, and here's where they're moving closer towards the radar, and this is where we're seeing this area of rotation. You got the inflow region right here, that rear inflow jet. It's all starting to get wrapped up in that severe thunderstorm, and this is going to continue to move through. Now, like Ryan was mentioning, this is a little bit different than what we saw a little over a week ago. Last Tuesday, not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday before that. Those were these more discrete supercell thunderstorms which held together for hours and hours. We warned and told you about one storm over an hour ahead of the time before it moved into Hancock County and Cerro Gordo County. This may fizzle on out because this is more embedded in this squall line as it continues to move on through. But again, let's just go back and take a look at the towns that this tornado warning is looking out for at the moment, if we could do that. So if we could, yeah, exactly, put a squall line on that, put a cone, see where it's headed. Right now, it's still headed towards the northeast, and it's going to move in towards places like Denhart at around 640. Kanawha, probably within the next 5 to 10 minutes. It won't be too long, and it will be moving in towards Clemmy a little bit soon after that, maybe towards 650. And Garner, you are not in the tornado warning, but you are in the severe thunderstorm warning, and we're still tracking strong winds moving through all of Hancock County and all of Winnebago County, and this is something we're going to continue to keep an eye on. And we could see more spin-ups. Like, look at this. There's another area that's not quite as strong, not nearly as strong, but this is just to the southwest of Forest City, where maybe something's trying to get going. We'll keep an eye on that one, but this is the one which has a tornado warning from the National Weather Service, alerting you that you need to be getting inside into an interior room of your house or the basement. Hopefully, if you have one. If you don't, that's fine. Get in towards a closet or a bathroom towards the center of your house without windows. And we're going to continue to track this out. This is not disappearing at the moment. Still moving through southern Hancock County and elsewhere we have severe thunderstorm warnings for things like gusts above 60 miles per hour. We're seeing things like quarter-sized hail, which is enough to see severe thunderstorm warnings. And we're also maybe seeing a couple of spin-up tornadoes here and there at times. So we're going to continue to stay with this. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. Right now we're going to take Ryan's feed. We're going to take meteorologist Ryan's feed. We're just going to keep his feed up. And again, if we could also put on the bottom of the screen where meteorologist Ryan Knapp is. We know he's just north of Clemmy on 69. We want the viewers to know that, north of Clemmy. Thank you again for putting that up. So right now, meteorologist Ryan Knapp, just north of Clemmy right here, in the sights of where this potential tornado would be, probably within the next, what time is it? It's just after 6:30. That would be another probably just over maybe 25 minutes is probably where that would start to reach Ryan as this continues to move towards the north and east. Can we take a look at the data from this tornado warning and see what exactly it says? and where it's moving in, what the exact speed of this tornado that the National Weather Service is seeing. Right now, this tornado warning is lasting through 6:45, so this is going to be warned for another 15 minutes across the region. Let's take a look at some of the data. So right now, we're seeing a tornado warning for northwestern Wright County. At a severe thunderstorm warning capable of producing a tornado was located 13 miles north of Eagle Grove or 14 miles northeast of Dakota City, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. This is a radar-indicated tornado, and again, it's moving towards the north at 55 miles per hour. So this is a fairly fast-moving tornado. This is much faster than the ones we were tracking just over a week ago, and this is just now looking like it's going to be in Kanawha fairly soon. It's just also to the south of Corwith, and this is going to continue also towards Denhart. Denhart, not that far away from Kanawha. Let's just take okay, we have a new tornado warning out. This was, or they clipped it. They clipped it. Okay, the tornado warning polygon, as we know it, actually changed a little bit there. So this tornado warning, right now, they've just clipped it. It is now moving in towards southwestern Hancock County. Tornado warning out for places like Kanawha, places like Corwith, places like Britt, places like Clemmy, places like Denhart, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. We're going to continue to track this as it moves on through. Let's just take it back to the radar, not the velocity, but the radar. Velocity tracks wind speeds and things like that. The radar, we can actually see where we're seeing this rain, and this definitely has all the looks of what could be a tornado embedded in this line of storms. You have this region here, the rear inflow jet. You see this bulge in the radar? It's just now starting to really rain towards parts of Kanawha. That is part of that inflow jet. There's probably some really strong winds just now moving in towards Kanawha. Again, terribly ironic, unfortunately, for the folks of Kanawha, because they were hit by that EF0, brief EF0, but still a tornado. That was not even 2 weeks ago. That was really recently. So wherever this rotation is, it's probably a little bit closer towards Corwith, and then this is where it would continue on towards the north and east. Again, this area of rotation moving at about 55 miles per hour. And even if that tornado doesn't hit you, or even if you're not in the tornado warning, still get in your safe place. You still got a severe thunderstorm warning now, and we're seeing very strong winds. I bet you Kanawha, even if you're not seeing that tornado move exactly through the town, you're probably seeing some really strong winds right there, because this is where you have that rear inflow jet. All the winds are rushing in towards, probably that's just going to be a train through southern Hancock County over the course probably of the next half hour. You're going to see some really strong winds gusting likely over 60 miles per hour, maybe even 70 miles per hour as this continues to march on through. Again, Clemmy towards kind of still in that tornado warning, so you want to be in your safe place. And I would say all of Hancock County, you want to be in your safe place, because like we saw last week in Mason City, there was a tornado on the south and eastern kind of edge of Mason City, but we also saw really strong winds in a setup very similar to this. There was a lot of damage, actually, that was caused not by a tornado, but just by really strong winds on this rear inflow region, where you get this kind of bulge out in front of that really squall line of thunderstorms, and that's capable of seeing really some strong gusts across the region. Okay, the radar just came up with a new little hit, as we call it. A hit really tells us, every couple of minutes we get a new radar look. It gives us a new image. When I say a radar hit, that's what I mean. I mean a new image coming out from the National Weather Service. This radar is located in Des Moines, still an area of, you can definitely see rotation towards parts of southern Hancock County. Can we take a closer look at that area of rotation, if we could, towards parts of Hancock County as this continues to move on through? Yeah, there we go. Thank you. So this is where the winds are moving away from the radar, and this is where they're moving towards the radar. This is where we have that circulation couplet, and that is where we're continuing to move towards the north and east with that area. We're going to stay on this. We're going to tell you where it's moving. Right now, we are seeing, it's terribly ironic. I hate to see this, because it was less than 2 weeks ago that I was here doing this very same thing in front of you, talking about a potential tornado moving through parts of Hancock County. Right now, this is a live look from meteorologist Ryan Knapp. He is in Hancock County, just to the north of Clemmy. Last time we talked to him. Ryan, what are you seeing? All right, we don't have a audio feed of Ryan, unfortunately, but he is continuing to track. Wow, look at those clouds. So if we could bring me back, or if we could actually put me in front of Ryan somehow, you know what? Let's bring me back. I'm going to step off screen, but I want to point something out on Ryan's feed. And this could be potentially pretty interesting, something I want to take a closer look at. But give me 1 second while I continue to set this up, while I continue to kind of fiddle with this. I know how to set this up, but keep that up. We're still tracking that tornado warning through parts of southeastern Hancock County and the northwestern part of southern Hancock County. All right, so now we have a look. You can bring me full. I want to step in front of Ryan and really point out what we're seeing. Look at this. Here's that shelf cloud. That's where you have those winds rushing up behind the storm, really with gusts above 60 miles per hour. The shelf cloud just behind that, that's where you have all the rain. That's where you have all the action. That's where you have those strong winds and those strong damaging gusts. But the actual cloud itself is from air rising up. Air behind that shelf cloud is colder, so it stays towards the ground. Air in front of it, very moist, very warm. It wants to rise, and it's hitting that air in front of it. It's hitting this kind of cold front. This is what this is, a cold front. It's rising up very vigorously, and that's how you get that almost ominous look that you can see right there. And there's actually some what we call scud clouds just below that shelf cloud where you could potentially, and what we would be looking for, and what meteorologist Ryan Knapp is also looking for, is areas of rotation embedded in this shelf cloud. We could see some of this, or these areas of rotation, actually rain wrapped, which means we wouldn't be able to see a potential tornado, but we could still be looking maybe at something on the out front part of this gust front. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on that. Let's bring me back, if we could, to the radar now. We still have a tornado warning out for parts of Hancock County, and this is going to continue for quite some time. Look at this. Look at the radar right here. This is where there's that rear inflow jet, strong winds on the backside, which are rushing into this storm. Southern Hancock County, even if you don't see a tornado, you're going to see some really strong winds, just like we saw in a very similar setup towards the end of last week's severe weather event. It was in Mason City. We were pointing out, we were seeing something similar. We were seeing this area, this bulge out front in a little bit bigger of a setup, but still it was a very similar event where we had these straight line winds just behind the squall line last week in Mason City, which produced some damaging winds. Right now we're probably seeing some really strong winds that we're about to move into Kanawha, or they just have moved in towards Kanawha. And elsewhere, we're still going to track the potential for tornado, of course. Tornado warning still out for parts of Hancock County, unless they just took it away. Did they just take that away? No, it's still there. Okay, thank you, Aaron. He was just taking a look at some of the winds we're seeing from the radar. Now, keep in mind, the radar is further to the south in Des Moines. This is not towards the ground. But, okay, we're going to take Ryan full screen. Look at this shelf cloud. Wow, that is impressive. Be careful, Ryan. He, again, is just to the north. Last we spoke of Clemmy on 69. If we could show the viewers where he is towards the bottom of the screen, that would be fantastic. But this is a very ominous look. There's that rain shaft, which is about to drive into, probably some strong or fairly large hail in there as well. Ryan knows what he's doing. We know what we're doing here at KMT Storm Team 3, and he's going to make sure he's not driving into what could potentially be a tornado. But he is showing us a brilliant look and terrifying look of this storm as it continues to march through parts of Hancock County. It looks like it's just now beginning to rain on his screen, as you can see. Aaron, if you could cue me up in front of Ryan right here, that would be fantastic. So Aaron knows how to do that. Give us a second, production, to set that up, and then I want to continue to annotate in front of screen as we continue. Thank you so much. As we continue to watch this rain just now move towards meteorologist Ryan Knapp. Again, he's on 69 last we spoke to him in Hancock County, just north of Clemmy. We don't know his exact location, but we know he's potentially fairly around right there. Strong winds just now continuing to move towards parts of him. Look at those winds. Wow. So that's what I was mentioning earlier on the radar. We are seeing, even if you aren't seeing this tornado, you are seeing very strong straight line winds, similar to what we saw last week in Cerro Gordo County, where there was some damage just from the winds. As we continue to get these rear inflow jet pushing the storm out ahead of itself, it gets a little caught up. The storm gets a little bundled up. But what happens when you have all this turbulence, when you have all this chaos in these storms, is that sometimes you get bursts of wind, which are much, much stronger. And that kind of looks like what we're seeing right here in the live feed, again, from meteorologist Ryan Knapp in southern Last we spoke to him, he was just north of Clemmy, but he is north of Clemmy still, but he is in Hancock County. Again, we can bring it back to the radar if we could at some point. I do want to point out where this tornado warning is. We got to go back to this every so often and continue to warn folks as this continues to push on through. So now we probably had those strong winds towards Kanawha already. They're now about to move in towards Garner. Garner, you need to get in your safe place. You're not in the tornado warning. You have not seen, okay, Garner, Iowa. All right, you're on 18 and 69. Anywhere I just mentioned, if you're on 18, if you're on 69 in Hancock County, but especially Garner, get in your safe place. I know you're not tornado warned. I know maybe you haven't been pinged by your phone for a tornado warning. But here's the area of rotation. If there is a tornado, which maybe they're not continuing that tornado warning, which would be a good sign, good news. But this area of rotation is not far from you, and it will probably be in your neck of the woods within maybe about 10 or 20 minutes, maybe a bit sooner than that. You're probably going to see the rain and strong winds before then. We know that Ryan was just north of Clemmy last we spoke to him, and on the radar, he was already starting to see some strong winds. Now, this is not a real-time radar, of course. It's delayed by a couple of minutes, by a minute or 3 at times, and we're probably going to get a new scan, a new image from the radar in Des Moines fairly soon, but still, we are seeing strong winds. All right, so there it looks like we got our new image from, like I was just mentioning, and yeah, you got some strong winds towards Garner. So we know that meteorologist Ryan Knapp was between Clemmy and Garner on 69, Highway 69 in Hancock County. We know we saw some strong winds with the incredible image that we saw from Hancock County, and also the rain that we saw on his feed. So he's getting some valuable information, and we're going to continue to track that. 72 miles per hour from the hit. What we're doing is we're looking at individual pixels for how strong the winds are from our radar in Des Moines. We're seeing some strong winds, 72 miles per hour. That's enough to be severe warned. And yes, this is well above the surface. This is well up high in the sky because that radar in Des Moines is it's about an hour and a half south from our area towards Des Moines. So it actually looks a bit higher up in the sky than if we were closer towards Des Moines. But still, this can be indicative of some of the winds which could be starting to filter down, work themselves down towards the ground right now. So still tracking that area of rotation. Did they expire that? Tornado warning expired, so that's fantastic news. But we're going to stay on for a couple more minutes as we continue to track this storm. And they might potentially issue a new severe thunderstorm warning out ahead of this. We have Ryan Knapp's feed right there, as you can see, just towards the right-hand side of the screen, and he is continuing to track strong rain and heavy winds in parts of Hancock County. Please let me know if we ever get Ryan's audio. I would love to talk to him if we have that capability. I also know sometimes the signal can be a little spotty here and there, so it's no biggie if we don't have his audio feed. But if we do, that would be fantastic for getting. So we're going to call him right now. So we're going to get back and see if we can get phone in to him and maybe he can tell us what he's experiencing or what he's seeing as he's on the ground in Hancock County, keeping us safe and for those folks in Hancock County. But we can also take a step back and also talk about where this storm is going. Because as we know, severe thunderstorm warning in Hancock County, severe thunderstorm warning in Winnebago County, but eventually these storms are moving in towards Cerro Gordo County and Worth County. I'll talk about that in a second, but we have meteorologist Ryan Knapp's audio. Ryan, what are you seeing right now, and where exactly are you, if you know?
Yeah, hey Sean. So we just had that kind of tail, or at least the leading edge of that strong storm, the tornado warning storm that we were just tracking, start to move through. We saw the very low shelf clouds and kind of scud clouds. I wouldn't say that there was anything reaching the ground per se, but if you're looking at my camera right now, you can just see the rain curtains moving across the highway here in front of me. Definitely want to take it easy if you are anywhere here in Hancock County. Definitely some lightning as well with this storm. So these storms are going to continue to move off towards the north and east here. Was a very ominous and very low shelf cloud ahead of it. I'm starting to wonder and this is a question for both either you or Aaron, was that tornado warning just radar indicated, or was there spotter of a funnel, spotter definition of an actual tornado?
It was radar indicated, Ryan, so we did not confirm a tornado on the ground, but we did potentially, we definitely had an area of rotation, and at the very least, very strong winds in parts of southern Hancock County. What have you seen with the winds? I kind of missed that if you talked about it, but how strong have the winds been where you are?
Well, like we were just talking about, what I put myself kind of in the position of is something known as a rear inflow jet. It's kind of a little divot that the storms will make where very fast rushing air will build in on the back side of the storm to help it bow out just a little bit, to kind of give it some more juice and some more energy to the storm itself. So when I saw that initially develop, I had a feeling we were going to see some very strong winds inside of this developing bowing segment of these storms that we have seen thus far. I'm starting to make my way out of it now. Just a heads up, I am on 69 here, coming up to the stop sign. Going to continue to move off towards the north here, closer back towards Garner, but I will find myself back into this storm here, it seems like. But your question initially was how the winds were, and I would say we've seen some pretty strong winds associated with these storms thus far. And you can see in front of me just the rain shaft starting to work across this form of the highway here. I'm not too certain what highway this is on, but this is heading back towards Garner. But still, this is a very strong system that's starting to make its way now off towards the north and east. We're going to continue to track it here through the rest of this evening.
Thank you so much, Ryan, for that report. Stay on, and I want to keep the double box on as he drives. Wow, look at that lightning as he drives. And be careful, Ryan, but as he intercepts this storm in parts of Hancock County. Last we spoke to him, he was on 69, just driving towards Garner. And I did get a report that the sirens are now sounding in Garner. I think that's a good idea because this storm is still rotating. It's not tornado warned, but surprises happen. Things happen, especially when you are unfortunately getting a little bit far away from the radar in Des Moines. Last week, there was that tornado in Mason City, and unfortunately, the National Weather Service did not catch that. They have a great track record of issuing tornado warnings for tornadoes, but sometimes things slip through the cracks, and that's more common in places like Mason City and Albert Lea once you get a little bit further away from that radar. And unfortunately, our North Iowa counties are in that general area where we are kind of radar deprived. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning out. Let's take me full for the second because we do have to talk a little bit closer about what we're seeing now for Cerro Gordo County. This severe thunderstorm warning, first, I want to point out it does still have that tornado possible tag. So this is a strong severe thunderstorm moving in towards Cerro Gordo County, Mason City, Clear Lake, Lake Mills, Forest City. Those are actually, you know what? We have the other severe thunderstorm warning queued up. Can we talk about this one? Thank you. Clear Lake, Hampton, Iowa Falls, Mason City, Sheffield. Also, once you start to get a little bit south of Cerro Gordo County on 35, this is where the line of thunderstorms is now moving in. We had that brilliant picture for Ryan Knapp, and for those folks in Mason City or Clear Lake, anywhere in Cerro Gordo County, which were watching and seeing that picture of that crazy shelf cloud and those strong winds that Ryan was showing us, folks, that's what's coming for you. That's moving in from the west. And right now, while it is not tornado warned, we have been seeing these rotations in this embedded lines of storms through most of for really the past half hour or really past 45 minutes, we've been starting to see these rotations through the area. So right now, can we go? Okay, we have meteorologist Ryan Knapp, Mason. This is not in Mason City, Mason City Live Eye. Thank you so much. We're trying to move around with a lot of buttons right now. Severe thunderstorm warning now out for Mason City, Clear Lake, all of Cerro Gordo County, and also as you start to get a little bit south of there towards places like Sheffield and whatnot. Take a look at this live eye. Look how fast. Normally you can't see the clouds moving on our live eyes, because they're so zoomed out, but you can clearly see the clouds moving. And I'm sure if you step outside in Mason City real briefly, I don't want you to do that for too long, but you would see these clouds moving really, really fast across the sky. There's a lot of energy in the air, as we know. In Mason City, I believe the temperature is 70 degrees right now, so it's really warm. And also we're seeing a lot of humidity too, dew points towards 60 degrees. All the necessary ingredients to get strong storms, just like what we saw last week. A lot of rotation in the atmosphere, a lot of energy. Excuse me, I've been talking for a while, so I'm starting to get some burps, but there's even more energy than what we saw last week. There's a lot more energy. It's warmer, 70 degrees. That's so hot, and we have a lot more humidity in the atmosphere as well. Thankfully, it's not as perfect of a setup in terms of spin, in terms of like jet stream and upper level stuff as we start to get more advanced. It's not as perfect of a setup as what we saw last week in realms of that, but still, nonetheless, a very energetic system. We saw all that lightning, we saw all that wind from meteorologist Ryan Knapsfeed in Hancock County near Garner, where in Garner we did get a report that the sirens are sounding. Again, I think that's a good idea. Garner was not in the tornado warning, but still you are about to see in Garner, or you are seeing right now, some very strong winds. So this line, we're continuing to move it through parts of our North Iowa counties: Forest City, Ventura, Thornton, Clear Lake, Swaledale, Central Heights, Mason City, Portland, Plymouth, North Springs. I didn't time any of those out for you. I just said them. If you heard all of that, you either need to be getting to your safe place or really thinking about it. And really, if you're in Cerro Gordo County, you need to be getting inside. You need to be making sure you have a way to stay safe. And if you're in Worth County, you're not in a severe thunderstorm warning, but you're still looking at some pretty strong storms moving on through. This line is really filled in. Just to give you a timeline, Forest City, that is actually in the past right now. It's 6:53. Ventura, 7 o'clock. Thornton, a little bit closer to 7:05. Swaledale, it's a little bit further south from Mason City. That's a little bit closer to 7:10, and that just continues out from there. We're starting with a little bit ahead of schedule, so these will start a little bit sooner. Mason City, these storms are in your neck of the woods in about, I think, a little over 20 minutes. And also, unfortunately, it's prom night for some high schools in Mason City, or in Cerro Gordo County that I know, and this is just not good timing for that at all. I'm sure a lot of kids are rather disappointed about that. Manly, 7:20, that's moving on in. Norris Springs, a little bit closer to 7:30. Rockford, 7:35. St. Ansgar, 7:40, 7:45, and we're starting to get pretty far out, but Osage is really far out in Mitchell County, but that's about 7:45, so that is just around 50 minutes away. We are probably still going to be tracking these storms during that time. Now, we're not going to stay on forever. We are going to eventually get back to regular programming. I know folks want to watch regular programming, and that's why you're tuning in, but these storms are strong. We have been seeing areas of rotation. We dealt with strong, severe straight-line winds last week in Cerro Gordo County. What we saw was very similar, actually, to what we're seeing now. You see this region right here? Could we zoom in as really Hancock County, where the rear inflow jet is? Because this is, I mean, it looks very similar in terms of straight-line winds to what we saw last week in Cerro Gordo County. Right now, there's an area of rotation right here, rear inflow jet, strong winds just behind this little squall line or bulge in the squall line, which are pushing the storm out ahead of the really whole line. And this is where you're starting to get some really strong winds. Garner, you're seeing those winds right now. I told you to get in your safe place. Hopefully you're staying there until the severe thunderstorm warning passes. And that's going to continue on with these really strong straight line winds gusting above 60 miles per hour in towards then Ventura. Then it moves into Clear Lake. Then it moves in towards Mason City. Now this may start to weaken as these winds really start to get a little bit too far ahead of the whole storm system as a whole. But it also may recycle again, and we might see another little area of rotation start to take advantage of the turbulence and start to get going again. So it's going to be a long night. We're going to be tracking these line of storms for several hours as it continues on through parts of North Iowa. Could we take a quick look at southern Minnesota, because we've been talking about Iowa for quite some time. Folks in Minnesota, you're also going to see storms. We have to talk about that as well. Albert Lea, it looks like, remember how I said there was some bulging? We're seeing a little bit of that, looks like, just now moving in towards parts of Albert Lea, or definitely parts of northern Freeborn County. Take a look at this. Yeah, track it all the way through Freeborn County, and that'll be in Albert Lea. Probably within, I think that's in exactly 10 minutes. And if you're in western Albert Lea, that's even sooner than that. Clarks Grove, similar time. Freeman, a little bit after that, maybe 10 to 15 minutes away. You're talking about Blooming Prairie. That's in probably another half an hour. Blooming Prairie at the intersection of so many counties right here, but Steele County and Dodge County. And that's where eventually things will be moving into, because this line of storms is now totally filled in from really like Steele County, eventually all the way through Freeborn County and all the way south through our Iowa counties. Actually, it's completely filled in from the Twin Cities. I wasn't sure. I haven't looked at the radar near the Twin Cities lately. But yeah,